bring Chandler Riggs! Oh man, hey guys. Thanks for having me. Such a warm welcome.
I think the scariest part about these is getting into these chairs.
Yeah, I know, right?
You know what I mean? They're just a little too high. I'm a little bit too broad.
Well, this is like what we have on set, like the director's chairs. It's nice.
Yeah, you're a director now. Huh?
Well, no, but like for cast, cast and crew, this is what we got.
Well, it's a good segue. I kind of want to talk about, your auditioning process for The Walking Dead, because there's so many roles for that show that you could have fit in anywhere. I'm curious, how did Carl fit for you, and how was just the origin story of that?
Yeah, well, let's see. I had done a bunch of other stuff growing up. I had done some community theater here and there. I did a Rooms to Go commercial, and yeah, just like small things and whatnot. And yeah, the audition for The Walking Dead came up, and I got very lucky that one of the executive producers for The Walking Dead was also an executive producer on a movie that I had done prior, Galen Hurd, and who's also, The Walking, has a crazy resume, like Terminator, Aliens, everything. So, I got pretty lucky that it worked out there. She was able to put in a good word, I think. I don't really know the full story, but and then I booked the show. I remember I read through like all the comics within a month, and I definitely probably shouldn't have, as a 10-year-old, read through those comics, for those of you that have read the comics. But yeah, and from there on, it was just season 1, season 2, so on and so forth.
Well, you had one of those rare experiences where you got to actually grow up with the show. You know what I mean? And it was season after season, and we got to watch not just your character develop, but you as a kid into a teenager. It's crazy. How was that experience for you? Kind of walking in and going like, Greenhorn, now I'm a vet.
Yeah, no, it was so incredible. It was the coolest experience that is it's something not a lot of. There's very few people on this earth that get to grow up on a set, and to be one of those people is just the greatest honor that I could ever ask for. It's so cool, and such a gift that that was given to me to get to spend that much time on a set. And during my formative years of growing up, it was really amazing. And I just so fortunate to not have to move. I'm from Georgia originally, which is where we filmed the show. Yeah, Georgia. And I didn't have to move, so I got to keep all my old friends from school and whatnot, and I got to stay going to the same school that I would have gone to otherwise, and to stay in classes and just have to miss school days here and there and make up my work as I go, and it was really honestly it worked out the best way it possibly could have.
Yeah, I could only imagine you strolling into school after missing a day and going, "No big deal, guys. I just had to shoot an episode of The Walking Dead." Nothing like that.
Yeah, I get people thinking that it was like that, where people were going crazy over me, doing whatever. But I was just people knew me before I was on the show. I was always going to auditions, always doing whatever. So. The Walking Dead wasn't always this massive, huge show too. So it, not many people really cared that I was that I was on the show.
Well, it's one of those things. I grew up watching it as well. From day one. Any day one fans out there? Absolutely, tuning in, subscribing to AMC. Trying to find all these backroom ways to not have to pay for it. Just to make sure I got my Walking Dead fix. I gotta know. Are you desensitized to zombies now as a whole, having been so enveloped with it?
I think it's not desensitized, but it's I have a greater appreciation for the time and effort that goes into the makeup and special effects, because it is crazy, guys. The zombies, they will sit in that makeup chair for 3-4 hours, at a time, getting all of their makeup done, and we have 10 to 20 hero zombies that day, and hero means they're featured zombies. Then that's a lot of hours in the makeup chair for a lot of people, and the collaborative effort that goes into it is really, really incredible. I remember sitting in the makeup chair one time, and it was the episode where Carl takes off the bandage and he has his eye. And I didn't really get to spend much time with the makeup, the special effects people until then. I remember just sitting there and watching them do their stuff and just being blown away by just what they were doing and be like, oh yeah, so this is why they won an Emmy for this show. Like that I'm sitting in their chair right now. That they were, it's crazy. They're so talented.
It definitely gives you a greater appreciation for those unsung heroes, for those hero, lack of a better word, zombies, where they're sitting there for hours at a time just to either be shot instantly and then they're immediately off frame. And they're like, whew, okay, that's my job for the day.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what other zombie kind of media, do you take inspiration from or do you like to draw towards outside of The Walking Dead? I'm curious if there's something like that for you.
Well, I think it's more of a coincidence than like me trying to draw inspiration from it. But like The Last of Us is like my favorite game ever, and the show is incredible too. Yeah, we got some Last of Us fans. Absolutely, yeah. But yeah, I wouldn't say I like took inspiration from, because at the end of the day, like The Walking Dead, it's like it's not really a zombie show. Like it's a show about, it's a post-apocalyptic show that happens to have the theme of zombies be like the antagonist of it. I'm sure if it was just some other kind of like virus or whatever else it would be similarly as cool of a show. It's just the zombies are kind of just a little bonus added on top of it. So, but yeah, it's there's so many other like great shows and movies out there that are in that kind of like post-apocalyptic setting that do it really well, like The Last of Us, and so it's I wouldn't say really take inspiration from other zombie stuff. It's more of just other good shows.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love to call back to what you said, it's, zombies are the bonus there. I've had that conversation with my mom where she's like, so the zombies aren't really that big of a problem? I'm like, no, it's the people, it's a drama. I'm like, okay, well then why don't the people just not? And then and then there's no problems whatsoever.
True.
You know what I mean? I'm curious, in terms of like the process with you, not just acting but being able to like read these scripts. Can you tell me a little bit about some of the table reads that you've had, or is some of it more like solo work that you're bringing to the table and everyone's kind of just bringing in one big piece of the pie?
Yeah, we didn't do table reads all that often. We had maybe like 1 or 2 table reads that I was actually there for. Most of the time they would of course schedule it like in the middle of when I have like my because we shot from May to November, and of course like the first episode or like the bit of pre-production was always like my finals week in school, and so it was always just like I just couldn't make the table read because I had a final in my algebra class or something. So it really was, everyone just came so prepared, like it's really a show where, we had 8 days to film each episode, but even then, like each episode that we were shooting was really big in scale, and we were shooting a lot of pages every day, like 6 to 10 pages a day, which is a lot of, a good amount of shooting. Like Marvel, I think, does like 3, it's like, yeah. And just to like everyone, just so professional, and the crew too, like going back and so I've done some directing and producing and other stuff now, and going back and like thinking back to how just good those guys were on that set, like our director of photography and our assistant camera guy, like the focus pullers, So, when you're shooting on film cameras, you don't have a monitor to like check to see if your shot is in focus, and so our ACs would have to like basically eyeball it and make sure that like the distance, it's crazy, and I could go into so specific, but it's nuts. The point is that they're so talented, like from the top to bottom, and the guy who played my dad, Rick, was like the most prepared person ever in the world. He would show up to set knowing like every single word on the page. He would know my lines, like knowing like every word of stage direction, and just like so prepared. I think I maybe saw him with sides in his hands like once. It's amazing.
Would you say that on set he was the one that you gravitated towards the most for maybe like guidance as you were first starting?
I think everyone did, to be honest. Like he just was such an amazing role model and like the perfect person to be in that role of this, not just like leader in the story, but leader on set, because that's like the number one on the call sheet usually is, just sets the tone on set, and it was the perfect person for that role, absolutely. And
I love that.
Yeah, it was great.
You hinted a little bit about some of the stuff that you were directing and you were working on. So can you tell me a little bit about what was happening for you after The Walking Dead? Yeah.
So after I finished up on Walking Dead, I moved out to LA, and I hopped on another show for a little while called A Million Little Things, which was a blast to do. It was so much fun. And then I did a couple of independent films here and there, and COVID hit, and then we went on strike, and now everything's on fire. So it's it's been just a lot of auditions, just trying to keep booking things. I do have a movie that I did called Breakup Season, which just came out a couple months ago on like Amazon, Apple, and Tubi and everything. I got a Western that I shot last year that's coming out at the end of this year. I have a comedy that I did where I played this villain, this like hacker guy, which was a lot of fun. It's coming out. It's premiering actually in a couple of weeks in Tampa, which I'm super stoked for. But anyways, point is I've been doing a lot and started a production company, so doing short films and whatnot. Yeah, so I've been very busy.
Absolutely. It sounds like it. It's like you're the Swiss Army knife of genres right now in terms of what you're working on.
I don't like to be bored. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a drive for it. It shows that you've got a hunger for it. And I hope that shows in the projects. Can you plug any projects that you want more attention to?
Yeah. Well, one of the things I'm working on is it's a thing called Neon Divide. It's like a nonprofit VR role play thing that it's a lot of fun. I've been at the helm of it for a little while, but super cool. Our website is neondivide.com. It's like a cyberpunk type thing. My production company is Smooth Blend Films. We have a first short film came out last year. We have another one coming out in a few months. And go check out Breakup Season.
I love that. I know we had a chance to talk a little bit backstage about this YouTube movie that you kind of did. It was a short film, full thing called Spider-Man. Anything you want to share about that?
Yeah, the spider. Yeah.
Spider?
Yeah. It's that's there's a lot of things I'm doing. It's a short horror take on Spider. How many of you guys seen the Spider? I know some of you guys have. Yeah. It's just a short horror take on Spider-Man. It's out on YouTube. It's like 7 minutes long, but it's getting to play Peter Parker for a couple days was like the coolest thing ever. Like I think I'm gonna frame the call sheet that had like my name next to Peter Parker because it was a dream come true.
That's
very cool.
Awesome. Did you guys draw any inspiration from The Fly for that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like The Fly, and there's a couple of actual like issues of some Spider-Man comics that like have a similar premise to like what happened there. So
it gets
pretty
really
cool.
terrifying when you really boil down the name Spider-Man. It can mean
right?
many other different things than hero.
Yeah,
I absolutely love it. Well,
and also, when we think about like when you get bit by a radioactive spider, I don't know if you're actually going to get superpowers. Like it might go south like very quickly, and that's what happens in that story.
Yeah, I definitely suggest you guys check it out if you haven't. And I could go back and forth with you all day.
Yeah.
But we've got questions here for you. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to hop in line. Hello.
Hi.
Love the hat.
Do you have like a favorite scene that you filmed on The Walking Dead?
Yeah, one of the coolest ones that I got to do was the scene where his eye got shot out, which I was so stoked for the longest time because it's like such a big deal. How many comic readers we got out there? All right, yeah. So you guys know it's a big deal in the comics. Like he wakes up and he asks where his mom is, and his mom has been dead for however long. Like it's a whole like reset of himself, and like it takes him a while to get back to where he was, and he never truly does. He becomes like another version of himself, and so I was so stoked to like get to do that and get to like have this happen to the character, and it'd be a really big shift because he had been kind of stagnant for a while, and we got to do the scene, and it was so awesome. We had the comic book there on set, trying to like match the frame perfectly. And it was so cool. What I didn't account for was how terrible the next 2 years of my life were going to be, having to wear an eye patch all day long. I don't know, like how many of you guys have done a Carl cosplay and tried to do the eye patch, and you guys know that it is terrible. I don't even recommend just trying it out because it is terrible just walking around with one eye for like 10 hours. You lose all depth perception. You start bumping into things. It's awful. Not fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi. Do you ever get tired of like the Carl Papa bad lip syncing thing? Like it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
It is, yeah. Let Jiggy Jar Jar do. Yeah, I know you guys all have seen it. Yeah. No, it's great. It's I love it. It's hilarious. When the first one came out, the one with the governor, that one was awesome. I remember I went around and showed like all the cast and crew on set because I just thought it was hilarious that people like. I mean, just people taking our stuff and putting their own spin on it is like the coolest thing ever, and it was so cool. So then and then when they did a song with me, I was like, no way, like this is the coolest thing ever. So it was very cool. Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course. I get people sometimes asking me, they're like, did you sing that? I'm like, nope, didn't sing it.
Hello.
Hi, I had a question about if you had any tips for people trying to become an actor or working on like short films or commercials or stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, good luck first of all, because it's a tough industry for sure. But honestly, the biggest thing that you can really do is just to like stay persistent, because in entertainment just across the board, like not just in front of the camera, behind the camera as well, like the amount of like times that you're gonna like audition or do whatever to put yourself out there and you will get said no is insane. Yeah, I mean like I can count on one hand the amount of callbacks that I've gotten in the last like 5 years. So it's a very brutal and cutthroat industry, and having now also been on the other side where I have cast things before, 4 projects of my own, it's been a really eye-opening experience of like 99% of the time it has nothing to do with your performance. It's just how you look. Like if like your vibe that you bring to the table is, if it fits that super narrow like window of like what casting or what the producers and casting are looking for, then you're you won the lottery of But yeah, it's really just all about persistence and that and honestly trying everything on set once. Because now that I've gotten the chance to like run sound for a scene or light a scene or operate camera for a scene or pull focus for a scene, it's like it's all been super eye-opening for me, because now when I'm on set I'm like much more aware of like, okay, I can't like if I just all of a sudden just blurt out and start yelling in the middle of the scene, it's going to be a headache for the sound guy for it to like actually sound good. Or if I like go back and forth too much, then like it's not going to be in focus because it's not going to be captured. So it just makes it all more a collaborative experience for everyone involved. So yeah, stay persistent and get involved with everything else. Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
To kind of piggyback off that, obviously from what you've said, the amount of callbacks that you get, you can count on your hand. How do you get through that defeatist mentality sometimes, especially for someone new coming into the industry? They want to get that first role and they think that's going to skyrocket them. What do you do to kind of center yourself when you kind of get that, hey, it's not you, it's us. You know what I mean? We're going in a different direction.
Yeah, I think like finding other hobbies and just finding other things to like occupy yourself with. That's why I started just making stuff myself, because like what, if I'm having trouble with landing in that super narrow window that casting is looking for, then and I'm doing everything right on my end, like diligently classes and like taking meetings with people and everything, then at the end of the day, it's just I just want to work and just be on sets. So I'm just gonna make the set myself and start doing that. So yeah, I think just finding other ways to be on set.
Absolutely, and I like how then, like you said, it gives you a deeper understanding of when you say no to somebody. You know what I mean? That it's like, hey, it's about the project. It's not about you at all.
Yeah.
And so for people to take it to heart, it kind of sucks because it can go by in both ways.
Yeah, which is so hard for an actor. Like when like a producer casting says it's not you. It's just you're just not the right fit. It's like, but I can be the right fit. I can do whatever you want. It's like you can, but like it's not what we're looking for. And it's a hard pill to swallow for actors.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi. First of all, it's wonderful to meet you for the first time ever. I actually had a question about you guys working on set. Was it ever super shocking for you guys to hear the difference in Andrew Lincoln's accent switching from on-screen versus off-screen?
He actually stayed in his American accent the entire time. Like whenever he would talk to me or any of the rest of the cast, the only time that he would switch it on is during interviews.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was always super weird when we'd be at Comic-Con and he would like backstage totally like American accent. Once we get on stage, flips on the British. It's
awesome.
Yeah, it's interesting. But it's funny because I just did I shot a proof of concept for like a medieval fantasy feature film that I'm working on, and I had to do a British accent for it, and I stayed in like my British accent the whole time. But then switching back to American, I've had a lot of difficulty with like going back into it. So I don't know how Andy did it with like just going back and forth so easily. He's a pro.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi, it's Jelly, by the way. If Carl was still alive within the newer seasons, do you think he would be with Daryl trying to find Rick or Judith?
Oh man, I think he'd probably be with Judith. But I think like if Father Gabriel hadn't ended up like kind of running things at Alexandria, that I think Carl would have probably taken up that mantle, or over at Hilltop, kind of like in the comics, you know. So, yeah, I think he probably would have stuck back with Judith, especially with Michonne going off and trying to find Rick. I think he would have hung back and held down the fort.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Hello.
Hi. So at the end of season 2, Carl had to kill Shane, and then at the end of season 3, he had to kill his mom. And so I was just wondering what you had to do to get like in the right headspace to portray it as genuine to us on screen.
Yeah, well, you know, I think I'm trying to think back because it was like 12, 13 years ago now. But I honestly, the biggest thing that stands out to me about that night was just how cold it was, you know. And I think just like using the physical pain of of that night really helped. But I don't know. I think because it was just like such a pivotal moment in the comics, and a moment that like I was really I didn't know how they were going to adapt on screen, and like what they were going to have me do to, you know, get close to that, or if they were even going to have me do that in the first place. I think yeah, it was just like putting every bit of like time, energy, prep into just like making it as good as I can. I remember back then my method was like probably not very healthy for a 12-year-old to be telling himself this, but like that this is real. My name is Carl. I'm in this situation. Like I'm about to kill, you know, whoever, and so I'm glad it worked, and I'm glad that I don't have to bill production for my therapy sessions. So it's great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello. So my question is, for when you were on set, you were like, I think you're a year older than me now because I'm 24. So going through all of those like years, was there any like funny moments for you, or like crazy bloopers or something like that that's happened on set?
Yeah, well, you know, going back to season 2, one that I mean, I always get people, you know, talking about Andy and Norman's like prank war on set or something with like glitter and everything else. But there was one time in season 2 where I don't know how we had figured this out, but somehow we'd found out that John Brenthal was terrified of crickets, of all things, crickets. And there was one day where I think it was Steven who had went and filled John's trailer with crickets. And so, and he's like a pretty big, and like could be a scary dude, you know, and he's got 2 pit bulls. Like he could be you know, intimidating at times. Super nice guy, but like, you know, he can amp it up, as you guys could have seen on screen. And I just remember like we were like hanging out like on like the side of like of base camp, just like waiting for him to like come up and see his reaction of like what was gonna happen. And I remember he just like walking him, he's like, "Hey guys," you know, he goes up and then opens his door, slams it shut, and he like, you know, like jumps backwards, and he's like, "Get the wardrobe out of there. I'm not changing in there."
He's got his hands all over.
He does. Yeah. Let me ask you something, you know.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello.
Hi. Okay, first of all, Shane had it coming. And, and then my question is, since you were a child on the set, and you know it's imaginary, what was your hardest character death?
Oh man, all of them were really were really a bummer for all of us, you know, because it's like you know, losing a like a coworker, you know what I mean, someone that you work really close with for a long period of time, and then they're gone, you know. So it's very sad for sure. But yeah, I think for me, just because I was a lot younger, Lori's death, my character's mother, was definitely not easy, because it was didn't help that the whole sequence took us like 2 days to shoot the whole thing, so it was just nonstop crying. And it was over my 13th birthday, which was like the worst 13th birthday ever. Having to kill my mom. Yeah. Jeez, man. And Sarah was, who played Lori, Sarah was just like, always looking out for me on set, and always like, you know, making sure that I was, you know, had enough time to get all my schoolwork done. And you know, obviously my parents were on set and we're doing that as well. But just an extra person looking out for me on set was really awesome. So having her leave was a bummer for sure. But yeah, again, it's always like whenever anyone left, it was always like definitely a bummer.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It just goes to show you the level of passion that you guys had, not just for, the project, but yourselves as people. You know what I mean? It was a close family that, when they're dying on screen and they're leaving, they're like, man, they're not going to be here tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's really sad. I mean, when you're, in the woods in Georgia and it's like 100% humidity and 104 degrees, then it's you bond very quickly, with the people around you.
Did you ever have any visits from any cast members that were no longer with the show that just kind of like made your day?
Oh man, I don't think so. I think like there were a couple of visits from cast members like later on. Michael Cudlitz directed a couple of episodes in season 9, but I was no longer there. I don't remember people coming to visit after they had left. I came back and visited for the last day of filming like the show for like ever, and that was really cool to be there for. It was just a really awesome moment. But other than that, I don't remember. It's very possible that I just don't remember it's happened, but yeah.
Well, even if you don't remember it for happening for you, you did it for somebody else.
Yeah.
Probably unknowingly, they were like, "Oh, he's here. Things are okay now."
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi. Besides Carl, who's your favorite character from The Walking Dead and why?
Michonne, absolutely. Yeah. No, Michonne is such a cool character. She's just like, oh man, I love that character in the comics, and Denai was like the best person to bring that character to life on screen, and like, oh man, just amazing all around, like really, really great, and just always fun to watch, and so deep and so layered, and like it really takes an incredible actor to like make a character that could be really just like one-dimensional and very shallow, but like to just be able to carry the emotional depth and weight, and like even before you get that flashback episode with her of like seeing her her brother and her boyfriend, I think were in Atlanta. Even before that, the whole like season and season and a half before of like time with her, you see that weight of that, like she has been through some serious stuff, and it's just so well done. It's really great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello. Did you have ever have a standout experience with an actor on or off screen that like stuck with you throughout your career?
Oh man, there's so many times. I think one of the ones that I actually have kind of taken with me is a couple different things. I mean, going back to Andy just being like the best role model ever and like the best person for that number one on set was he knew like everybody's name, like cast, crew, everybody that came in. So that's one thing I try to take to everywhere else is like remember everybody that I can, everyone that I interact with, like try to remember their name, because crew, there's like 200 people in crew. It's a lot, but like it means a lot to everyone else if like you like take the time to remember their name. And there's this thing that Andy did, and I didn't really know what it was until like season 4 or something, 3 or 4, where he told me. And during like deep or any sort of like emotional scene, which was like 90% of the time for him, he would look at his hand before we would like when we'd be setting up for the shot and then like starting to roll camera and get going. And I asked him, I'm like, why are you looking at your hand? Like, what's going on? And he was like, it was a thing I learned at my acting school where looking at your hand, it just helps like zone everything else out and like help keep things internal and just like minimize distractions. Basically, it helped to like just have your eyes focusing on a point that belongs to you, and just keep it all rotating like internally. So I've taken that and used it a million times, because when you're about to roll and you have like 80 different people around you, like adjusting, wardrobe or makeup or anything else, like just having that one like grounding piece helps kind of like stay or get rolling into character at least. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello.
How you doing? You said when you were casted for the role of Carl, you had gone through and read all the comics. Are there any major like differences that you would have liked to see in the comics that were not implicated in the show?
Well, there's a certain character death that I think would have been cool, if we didn't do that in the show, No, I'm kidding. No, I think, honestly, there's so much that was taken and adapted so well that sometimes the comics did better, that sometimes the show did better. Like, I think, like, Terminus, something being, like, a totally original idea ended up being, like, one of the coolest storylines that we did in the show, like, at all. And the whole, like, the Grove episode, Look at the Flowers, like, that whole episode was just, like, totally adapted and, like, just really, really cool. And I don't know. There is I think Negan is a hard one to adapt. I think they did an amazing job, and Jeffrey did, like, an awesome job bringing him to life. But, like, in the comics, he's significantly more just brutal and vile and disgusting. You know what I mean? Like, he's just, like, way worse of a villain in the comics. And I think, like, it's just one that you just can't adapt to TV. It's just one that, like, I mean, he's you can't say those words on television. Legally, they will not air our episodes if we tried. So, we save it for the Blu-ray specials. But I would say that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello. So with Robert Kirkman being the author and helping produce both Walking Dead and Invincible, having multiple Walking Dead cast members like Stephen Young, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, like, on Invincible, would you ever be open to taking a role on Invincible?
Absolutely, I would love to. Yeah. I've never been reached out to do it, but I've done some voiceover stuff in the past, and I would love to do some work on Invincible. It'd be really great. Yeah, it's an awesome show, awesome people. We actually had a lot of Easter eggs to Invincible in The Walking Dead. We had a lot of times where I think pretty much any time that Carl is reading a comic book, it's an Invincible comic book. And we had some Invincible Legos at some point, just featured in one of the shots. But it was funny. There was a scene where I'm flipping through an Invincible comic, and I flipped through one of the pages, and we're rolling, like, on camera, and I'm doing the scene, and there's an ad for The Walking Dead for the show, and I'm, like, trying to flip by it past so the camera doesn't see, like, what it is, because it's like, that probably shouldn't exist in this world that we're capturing on camera right now. Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course.
No, I love when they do those, because if you've played the season 2 of the Telltale game, when you go into the comic book store, I remember my roommate sitting there going, "Is that an Invincible one?" I'm like, "Let me explain to you the universe that is." Yeah. It's so cool, and I love the idea that you guys can jump from project to project, but still pay homage to your previous ones too.
Yeah.
It adds such a deep layer, of, like, the metaverse there.
It's very cool. Yeah.
I love that. Hello.
Hello. If you finished the show after you left, who was your favorite villain from the last 3 seasons?
Oh man, I only watched season 9, so I mean, the only option is Alpha, really. So, But I mean, like, man, what a great villain Alpha was. Like, oh man, just so good. And Samantha Morton is incredible, and Ryan Hurst for Beta is so good too. Like, they really knocked it out of the park with, like, that whole arc in season 9, and it was really well done.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Hello.
First off, I'd like to say you are an impressive young man. I've watched you since the beginning.
Thank you.
I was very disappointed when you died. That said, I'd like to ask a speculation question. Have you ever heard of the fan theory that The Walking Dead began with basically, at the end, with old man Carl sitting around the campfire telling his grandchildren about the early days? How do you feel about that?
Well, for our comic readers in the crowd, that's kind of like what it actually ends up. Spoiler alert for anyone that hasn't read the comics. But that's it goes down a similar route, and well, I mean, couldn't really be done in the show now for obvious reasons, But yeah, I mean, I think it'd be super cool to have in some fashion with, like, Judith, like, older. I think actually I remember reading somewhere and hearing about it that they shot an alternate ending to the main show where it was Judith and RJ, like, 15, 20 years in the future, and they're, like, reclaiming the world. It's like a cool, scene way to, like, close out the show. I recommend, like, looking it up and checking it out, like Walking Dead alternate ending. It's pretty cool.
Cool. Thank you very much. Hello.
So I started with the comics like you did, and I was wondering, it was always really exciting for me to see how they were going to cast these characters. And sometimes it fit perfectly, I thought, and sometimes I was like, first time I saw it, well, was there any of the characters cast you as the comic reader thought, wow, what are they doing? Or you thought, oh, that's perfect?
Oh man, I don't know. I think just about every time we were all just really, really stoked. Yeah, I do remember when they announced us like playing those characters in the comics. It was like it was issue I think like 70 or 75 that had come out, and I was buying them weekly at that, or whenever they came out, monthly at that point, whenever they were coming out, and I remember flipping through it and seeing our faces in the back. It was the announcement, the cast announcement, like for the show, a part of the comic book, and it was the coolest thing ever that like they were announcing us like that in the comics. And but yeah, I don't think like there was any decision that we were like, oh, I don't really know. I think everyone was like, Negan was definitely one that was like, there was a lot that rode on it, and I wasn't familiar with Jeffrey Dean Morgan beforehand, but I just remember like the first interaction that I had with him, he would like, because I think he got cast like days before we had to shoot, and we were rehearsing the scene, and it's all of us there, and Jeffrey has like 11 pages of dialogue and that he just got yesterday, you know what I mean? And he's like going through it again and again. He's like saying hey to us and meeting us, trying to remember all of our names, and like trying to like knowing that so much is riding on this character, and but I mean, he, like as soon as the camera started rolling, he just nailed it, like just perfect. Yeah, there was one that we there was one casting that we were like, whoa, wait a minute, and it was the casting for Aaron. So Ross Marquand, he used to have a YouTube channel where he did impressions of people, like of characters and everything. And he's obviously he's a voice actor. He's in Invincible, and he's in like Marvel. He's an incredibly amazing, successful career. And he would do impressions of. He had an impression video up of Rick Grimes up there on his channel. And so I remember we got the casting thing. We were like looking him up on IMDb and everything because he comes into work like the next day or something. And we're like, hey, wait. He has a YouTube channel. We go to his YouTube channel, and we see his impression of Rick up there. We're like, no way, guys. All right, look at this. And so we pull him up, and we put him on. We're all watching him at lunch, and he nails his Rick Grimes impression, like almost does a better Rick than Andy does. Like he just nails it. And he had like a awesome impression of Norman. Not well, I think for Daryl as well, but like Norman, himself. And like it was so good. And I remember when he like came and introduced himself, like, hey, so we saw your YouTube, and he was like, oh God, I should have taken that. I was supposed to take that down. Oh no. And but yeah, it was funny.
Thank you very much.
Of course.
Hello.
Hi there. So I've been a fan since day one, and I think that we all need to know is, biggest question, do you despise chocolate pudding?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. It's funny. I still get that question. It's like it has been 11, almost 12 years since we shot that scene, and it's like, it equates to like what I had for lunch one time when I was 14, you know what I mean? It's it was about a quarter of the can. It was a lot of pudding, but and it's just amazing how like scenes like that just stick with people. And 100%. When we shot the scene, it was just like, okay, it's just another scene, we prep for it, we shoot it, we move on to the next thing, and it was never in our mind that it was going to be like just stick with people as much as it did, but it's so cool that it does.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello.
Hi, I have a question. So, do you have like a favorite season that you just really liked and like enjoyed a lot?
Yeah, season 4 is my favorite. I think like it was where it started with like the flu going through the prison and everything, and then ended with them going to Terminus, and just like such an awesome season start to finish. We had some great moments and some really good send-offs for some characters. And Herschel's death, was right in the middle there, and it was just like so many times where we had amazing moments in the series. And my character had just an awesome arc from start to finish. Selfishly, had an awesome arc start to finish, and it was just a really well written, well paced, well done season.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
So I heard online that you all had death day parties. Did you have one, and did you attend many, and how were they?
Yeah, death dinners is what we called them. Yeah, and well, they started off as everyone like would like get together. The cast would like take whoever was dying out to their favorite restaurant in Atlanta that they'd been going to, and that was like back in season 1, season 2 when like the show hadn't even been announced yet or wasn't that big, but then when it came around to like season 3, people started figuring out we'd all go out to dinner and they'd see us all like toasting and celebrating a specific person. People would be like, "Wait a minute, like wait a second." And so then we had to start taking it private and like, okay, we're just gonna get like catering at someone's house. And I only got to go to a handful of them because most of the time they were at bars, or at somewhere and I was 12, most of the time, so couldn't do that. And so I think like the first like real big one that I remember like being able to go to was for Michael and Steven, Glenn and Abraham. And it's just like, man, it's so sad, and it's usually not like after, it's either like a couple days before we wrap or like, it's not actually like the final moments. But yeah, it's always so sad. And mine was just like, for me, it felt so weird. It felt like I was actually dying. Everyone was like, "You did so good. Like it was so great. Like getting to spend this time with you and everything else, and like giving these sentimental speeches." And I'm like, "Thanks, guys. Like, it's been so good. Yeah, I'm not actually dying, but thanks." And but it's we did have them, and they were always very sad.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, thank you for that question. Thank you, Chandler, for spending so much time with us. Indiana, let's give it up for him, folks.
Thank you so much, guys. Great talking to you. I'll see you later.